And so we are creating a sheet in your proposal so that somebody can actually be sold by that page.
Love that. And you've done this for John.
Yeah.
And so let me, hopefully this doesn't mess up our recording in any way, but I'm going to share my screen and let's take a look at John's quotes. So this is our cover page, which is part of Proline. But as we start scrolling, we can see here this is a little different than what our default pages in Proline look like. This is a custom page in Proline, and yeah. So tell us what's going on here, Chris. This is one of your sell pages, right?
Yep. Exactly. So the all of this idea started from when we were bidding roofs in our business digitally ahead of a site visit because I was too overloaded during some weeks that I couldn't get to everybody in a timely manner. And so I started sending bids ahead of time. And so we started with like, what's all the things I tell you on a site visit that we want to, send ahead of time so that they hopefully will still call me. And so we build the quotes with the beginning of like, what do you typically tell a homeowner? It's like, let's tell you the story about me, the founder, the owner, and what we do and why we do it. It's like, well, I want to personalize that in the first page. So it's not just here's some roof stuff. So we start with a cover page where it's a letter from the owners. And so I worked with John and Cameron on this to kind of talk about the way they learn about your business so that we can work to create a message that really speaks to the people on your team and how they're going to help the homeowner along this journey.
Love that. Nice. So moving down in here, your journey with Peach State Roofing. So yeah,
Yes.
tell me about this page.
So if you think about like what is an ideal customer in my mind, the customers I'm going to sell to, what do they really care about? It's not the shingles. And even the shingle manufacturers will tell you, like the Atlas guy that wears the money suit on the road tour, Stan, I think's his name. He's like, they do a survey and they know after 12 months, most people don't know the products that was installed on their roof. And so when you think about this process, it's like what differentiates you and your roofing business from anybody else? And it's the people. And people want to understand, okay, I don't mind that I'm going to work with four people, but I would like to know who it is, who do I talk to, and when do I talk to them, and what's the steps along the way, just so that I'm familiar with them. And so we introduce, here's the team, and here's who you're going to work with, and what they're going to do along each of these steps for you, so that if you have questions, at least it's a way for us to try and eliminate homeowners calling me directly to say, hey, I got a problem with this. It's like, no, they've seen this. We've talked them through it that I'm not the operations person. I'm the guy that's coming out to walk the roof, look for these problems, do the inspections. But once we get to this point, here's who you're going to talk to. And so in John's case, it's like Kathleen is the one for them that's going to handle everything at the beginning and kind of in the middle. And then John and Cameron are there along the way at step two when they come out for a roof inspection. And so it helps the homeowner understand what's going to happen and who's going to be the one to make it happen for me.
I love that. All right, and then we have our roof packages.
Yeah, so back to the prior comment, we still did put that, we've got the branding on there, but for the roofs, when you go out and speak to homeowners, and this was my experience, most people are going to fall into one of two buckets. When you're going to pitch a good, better, best option to them, they know they can self-select ahead of time, and so when they can see this page, it kind of gives them the idea of, all right, what am I looking at? Metal is best, and it's like it's in its own category. It's standing above the rest. We know most people aren't going to pay for this and aren't going to get this done. So yes, this is our best. But when we talk shingles, there's going to be a couple other levels. And so what we did is we wrote the verbiage and stuff on this page so that if somebody's looking at this, like what's the difference between the better, the good, and the basic? The basic, it's like, hey, it's a great efficient protection, but it's got to focus on value and quality. The words that we're going to put there, instead of saying, hey, this is the cheap roof, it's like value, quality, they're both there for you, versus some of the stuff on like the better roofs. They're going to speak to things that somebody with a little bit more money or a specific concern may be willing to pay more for. So, hey, if you are looking for more solar reflectivity, you're probably looking at a Pinnacle Sun or Pinnacle Impact if you're in a hail prone area. And so we're writing things so that customers will look and say, hey, this is not my forever home. This is not something I'm going to be staying at. And so when you go out to talk to them, they're gonna probably tell you, hey, I'm looking between this package and this package. And then it gives you that better starting point, because they've been able to understand which bucket they might fall in and which are the features of that package that they care about. Because when we get down to it, there's not much differences about all the shingles. All the manufacturers got the same stuff, they solve the same problems. Everybody's got their preferences, but let the customer see, what's the difference in a high level term, not this has got, a couple more pounds per square, things like that. It's not a stat sheet.
Yep. No, that makes sense. That information is a little too much for the homeowner.
And then, so the solutions pages, this is something as part of the blueprint for John. What we kind of talked through and what we worked on was we wanted to make this sell sheet something that was not a 20-page long quote. He didn't want a super long quote. He wanted it to be something that's a little bit shorter, but also something that we could double as a tool to either get leads on the website or utilize pages within the quotes, not just as a part of the process, but in other areas of the business. And so this is one where it's like, hey, we're going to design this so it answers a lot of the questions that I'm commonly asked on a site visit, like why would I do hidden fastener standing seam metal? And it speaks to the homeowners in the they ask you answer format, of here's the problems we solve and here's the things that we're solving for you, versus telling you again back to specs and things that they're just going to glance over. So present the material in a way they can see some pictures, see what's the thing. If it's something that they didn't even know you guys offered gutters and gutter guards, they might see this on this page and say, oh, cool, less maintenance because I don't have to clean my gutters. I didn't even think about that. But now that I know John offers this, hey, let's talk to John when he comes out on site and look into this.
Yeah, that makes sense. This is kind of a continuation of that.
Yep, and we basically just took all the packages of like, okay, what between impact, sun, what's the big thing about Pinnacle Pristine? Because that's the better roof. That's what we're typically selling most of. Great Scotchgard. We're going to focus on Scotchgard. And then the two of like hailstorms and cool in the summer sun. Again, smaller customer demographic because you're not selling as many of those roofs, but the people that are curious about it or interested, this is the information that they're going to see. And it tells it to them in a way that I always think of like the retired engineer dad, him when you go out and do a sales visit with him, like, oh, what'd you used to do? I was an engineer. Oh, okay, great. Let's talk impact and let's talk sun shingles and metal because you care about these things. And he's going to be the one that's going to look at the impact rating and rubberized polymer and be like, ooh, cool. But somebody else that's not looking at those, they're going to gloss over them because it's not something that's speaking to them because they weren't interested in the first place.
That makes sense. And then we have upgrades.
Yep. So how do you boost your ticket price and boost your overall profit on a job without having to be a pushy sales guy? Just let people know what you can do for them. Show them that, hey, here's a problem that I can solve for you. So if you're in a forever home, you're maybe going to consider a lifetime pipe boot. I forget what John, you guys are charging for them, but I know it's like you're making good money. And anybody that sells these lifetime pipe boots, I've got a couple other guys that we put them into their sell sheets too. Not every customer is going to buy it, but the people that will buy it, it's like, great, I'll get 20 of those guys a year. It's like, cool, we just made an extra 10 grand this year just from having this shown there. And I didn't even have to talk about it. And this is where, going back to the blueprint of thinking about not just you as the owner, but who else is going to sell for you someday? If it's going to be somebody else, you're going to add more people to your business.